Welcome to today's episode of Blending Fab, a podcast all about relationships where we explore expectations and lessons learned along the way. To keep up to date with what's coming up, be sure to follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Let's get straight into it.
Do you believe that opposites attract?
I personally absolutely believe opposites attract, especially when it comes to relationships, any type of ship, friendship, romantic relationship. Opposites attract. I'm a firm believer in if there are too many people in the room and everyone agrees, you're in the wrong room. So if I'm in a relationship or in this particular in my marriage now, and we were too much of the same type of person, I don't think that we would have been able to uplift each other or motivate each other in the ways that we can with being opposite, with having opposite personalities and ways of thinking and upbringing. Although, the opposite sometimes can seem like the difficult and like seem like kind of like a struggle. If you work through it, like I really feel like it's a real good positive thing.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with everything the missus just said. No, I do believe that opposites can attract because I mean me personally, I wouldn't want to date someone that's too much like me. I want you to have some differences, if not a lot. I don't want you to be too much like me. I mean, of course, it is beautiful, it is great and wonderful to meet your mate and your spouse or whomever, and you see similar traits, but you kind of want, you want to feel and know that there's some difference, just some difference there. So, but I do believe opposites could, some little excitement, but I do believe that opposites do attract. Absolutely.
Gotcha. It's interesting. Of you saying like some similarities, but not too much. And it made me think of Coming to America. It was like, what do you like? Whatever you like. Where do you want to go? Wherever you want to go.
Exactly. You don't want that. That's at this point. That's a drone. That's a drone you got. You
Yeah.
don't want a drone. You want a real life person.
Yes.
Who, if you say, "Hey, babe, let's go left," and she say, "No, I want us to go right." No, babe, but I want to go left, but I want to go right. You need that. Sometimes you need that. You don't want every time, "Oh, we going right." Okay, babe, we going right, and then that right be the wrong turn. We just both made. Yeah, we both messed up.
Yeah, it's exactly, and like the similarities, like with spirituality, are important.
Mm-hmm.
But little things like, I always used to say I'm not Susie Homemaker. Let me say it like that. So with that, like I'm not a super tidy person. I can get a little messy. So he's the opposite. So when I walk in the house and I leave my shoes all over the place like I do, he'll pick them up and
With an
he'll keep
attitude,
me.
but I'll get it.
He'll make sure I stay on track. Like yesterday, it was like, "Oh, Miss Lady, you and all these shoes, you're getting out of hand now. Downstairs is not your closet." But if we was both messy, like people be walking into our house and just seeing a mess. So it's little things like that that are like super important. With being opposite, and again, like we can bounce ideas off each other. He is super, super, super outgoing. I am not. However, I want to get more into doing my poetry and writing and things like that. And his personality kind of pushes me to do that because it's like, say something, speak up. It forces me to be more vocal than I would have normally been. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing because that's something that my poetry is something specific for me that I always was teeter-tottering on wanting to share, but not really always having the confidence to share it. Like keep allowing myself to be more comfortable with playing the background. I got with him, and when I got with Terrence, and he read some of my poetry, and he's just like, "And why don't you have a book? And why don't you tell people about this?" And I'm just like, I don't know, So that push is really comforting, and it's helping me to grow. Like we just had a show last week Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was really, really like amazing. Number one, to have his support because he hosted the comedy show, and I was on the bill as the poetess. So it was comforting to have him there for support on both ends, because it was like, okay, don't be afraid. You see him get up there, you see his confidence, you see him doing it. So push yourself to meet that level. Whereas if I had someone or I was with someone that was the complete opposite, I may not have even taken that chance to push myself to that point.
I like it.
Yeah. And then also too as well, Jen, I've learned that, like Denise said, she's on the quiet side and I'm more outspoken, outgoing. Just as well as she picked up from me to, come out of the shell a little bit, I've learned that sometimes you don't have to be loud all the time. You don't have to be outspoken all the time. Sometimes there is a place to be quiet. So I've actually learned that from her. Like, hey, you don't have to be the life of the party every time. Sometimes just go back and, be a little bit more humble and be a little bit more meek. Everybody, we know you're funny. We know you tell jokes. But, and that was just the wild side of me, well, the fun side of me. And, with being with Denise, learning that, okay, cool, you don't have to do that all the time. So it's a learn on both sides, in my opinion. Like I learn a lot from her so much, and it's my baby.
I love it. I love it. I like also that there is a sense of compromise, in a sense of like, one is a clean, I don't want to say clean freak, but like if it was to categorize you as a clean freak, and she's like, yep, I just put my shoes down, to eventually get to the place of saying, all right, downstairs, not the closet. That takes some time to get there, because like you don't want to be offensive, but you want to say like, we need to clean up a little bit. You got to do just a little bit. How did you get to that place where you felt like, he's not attacking me, she's not attacking me, they actually want me to be better?
I am being a quiet person. It makes me more observant. So it was kind of like he really didn't have to say it because he said it. If you understand what I'm saying, like his if he came home and like I'm lounging around and I know the house is a mess, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hear some stomping, I'm going to hear some sighs, I'm gonna feel that little bit of tension of him having to come in and clean up after me. So the vocalization of it now is for me more so like he'll realize like, oh, I'll do more, like, okay babe, do you need me to help you with this, or I'll try to be more mindful of, okay, at least when I see the pile of shoes getting a little bit bigger, let's relocate some of these to to the upstairs, things like that. So it was more so like just me realizing his temperature would change or his mood would change, and that was actually adding extra stress to him. And I put myself in his shoes, like, okay, girl, you come home from a hard day at work, and with kids, you don't want to come in screaming, yelling, pick this up, clean this up, do this, and then there's a bunch of people sitting in the house and you're the only one doing it. So knowing how that felt too as a single mom prior to him, it just kind of like, okay, girl, I know that you got a little comfortable in the beginning because he just came in like, I got it, I'll do it, don't worry about it, put your feet up, relax. But put your feet up and relax don't mean pretty much sit on your hands and don't do anything. You got to kind of kick it into gear. So I think the balance came from recognizing that it was putting a strain on him without him having to really tell me that it was putting a strain on him.
And then also too, Jen, with that situation, what I've learned is too is um, it's almost in a sense you want a person to receive it in the spirit that is given in. So you don't want to say you don't want to say it like you're offensive. And number one, I'm her husband, not a father. Like, so I can't come in like trying to boss this grown lady, or I don't, and I definitely don't want to come in to offend my wife. So you kind of say it in a jokey way, but I know my person get it. Like, I know she get it. Like, all right, babe, like, and there's something that we can laugh and make a light joke of, but behind the light joke, like, okay, babe, all right, I got you, babe. Let me not leave my shoes there. Let me take them upstairs. And that's just how you simply move out of that. And I try to always, keep in mind of respecting my wife's feelings. and respecting her number one as a female, as a black queen, and then also to respecting her feelings. That was something I struggled with in the early part, and sometimes still may have struggles. I'm gonna call a spade, but I keep that in the forefront of my brain is, hey, make sure your delivery is cool. And then sometimes too, people we may say things, and to us it's not offensive or coming across that way, but we're not knowing how it's landing on the other person. So
Yeah.
you kind of want to say things, and you also want to reach that level of where you guys can joke around and play like that, and and it's seriousness behind it, but the spirit of what's being said to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was not without, like, let me, be completely honest. Like, in the beginning, because they say the first 5 years of marriage are hard. We are in year 4. It'll be 4 years in August. And we've definitely had our struggles with learning how to properly communicate to each other. Because I have two sides. It's either super explosive or super mild. And Terrence is, I guess, kind of somewhere in between that. So I think, like somewhere in between that. Like, I don't think you're super explosive or super mild. Like, you're somewhere. It depends on the day. If he feels like being funny or taking it as a joke or whatever. So we had to learn how to talk to each other. We really, really had to learn how to talk to each other and effectively communicate with each other. And there were times where, I'm gonna be honest, it did not end well. We did not go to bed on good terms at all. But, it's just the drive and the strive to know that, like, if this is what you really want, you keep pushing in communication for everything, anything, even the little things. Communication is key. And, is just being mindful, like you said, and respectful of the other person's feelings in all situations.
I love that. Yes, they do say that the first 5 years are the most challenging. And the dopeness is that even when it did get rough, you guys are still pushing, right? And are going through that process of communication, because so many times we can feel like we said something, but we understood it in our head, but they might not have understood what it was we were saying. We was like, go that way. Okay, in my head, I was already going this way, but you meant for me to go that way. So really being specific in what it is that you're saying, and honing in on, I was talking to my brother about this the other day. We were talking about how if you know the person, then you know that they're not doing anything to hurt you.
Right.
If you know the person. Right. Now you can know the person and they are doing something to hurt you, and you use your discernment for that. But when you're in a situation of, I said I do, till death do us part, sickness, health, good, bad, ugly, all in between, the hope is that they really meant that when they said that, as you meant that when you said that. So now you got to like, all right, let me put myself aside. What is it that we can do? So many people are ready to throw in the towel, but you kept in it. So what was that part of learning how to talk, learning that piece of communication that was so important to help you? And what's words of wisdom to share with somebody else of not giving up?
First and foremost, keep God in your life. Keep the sweet baby Jesus near in your life, and keep a church home on your neighborhood. Honestly, like, in all seriousness, like, it was a struggle, Jen. It was a struggle. If we talking flesh wise, it was a struggle. Honestly, it took, of course, counseling, therapy, and first and foremost, God. If I ever can talk to another, which I will, and if I can share with the young couple, is pray, 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 and honor your vows. Like, honor what you stood in front of whomever church, and what you said, you gotta honor that. Have there been times, like Denise have said, has been times in the beginning where, hey, we just ready to call this thing, hey, you know what, shut the lights off, it's over, party's over. But it's like, I know that both of us have in our heart, no matter how hard this marriage gets for us, nobody's not going nowhere. Like, we make jokes about it all the time. Like I told Denise, look, stop. I'm not leaving. You're not leaving me. I'm not leaving you. Whatever problem we got, we gonna work it out together. If you got an issue, we gonna work it out. If I got an issue, we gonna work it out. Ain't nobody going nowhere. It's paperwork involved. Like, and I honor that. It's paperwork involved. Like, so, and honestly, God, and the willing heart to really want to, mean what you say and say what you mean. God.
Yeah. In addition to that, I would just add on being real with yourself is so important. Being realistic with yourself and recognizing if you are the problem in the relationship. Because we come in and like we can sometimes fool ourselves into believing that we are not the problem. I have these amazing communication skills, and I'm speaking about me personally. Like, I can go outside and I can have an amazing conversation with anyone, and they'll, I compliment me on how well I speak, and how well spoken I am, and the way I put my words together, and so on and so forth. But if I'm giving that to the outside world, but I'm not honoring my husband and giving that to him, what does that mean? That means that I'm not being honest and real with myself. So it took a lot of deep diving into who we are as individuals and what we were taught as effective communication, and really understanding what actual effective communication is for us to even begin the process to effectively communicate. Because even now we still have moments where our communication isn't as effective because we're still shedding generational curses and upbringing and ways that we were spoken to, or trauma that's happened that make us respond in a certain way because we're used to being spoken to that way, or used to not exercising those communication skills or shutting down. So it's a work in progress, and like Terrence said, pray, 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 pray. When we really got our prayer life together, like for real, like no joke, really got our prayer life together, things really came together. Really came together. And it didn't just happen overnight, because coming from two different upbringings, having two different understandings of what communication is, it's hard to sometimes get on a level playing field, even when you have therapy and even when you have counseling, because when all of that's gone away and you're in your space with your person, that's when you get the opportunity to do the work. And it's one thing that I always share with Terrence is when we do pray, we have to understand that God is not a genie in a bottle. He's not going to snap his fingers and all of a sudden we're going to have these beautiful words to say to each other and we're just going to have it all figured out. He's going to give us opportunities where, as simple as the shoes are on the floor or the dishes aren't done, for us to be able to exhibit those effective communication skills to each other at the time that is needed. And I just want to share, like, this one situation that recently happened with us where, our community, I think it was after church, matter of fact, it was on a Sunday. And the argument was so stupid. And it was getting so out of hand. And the only thing that I can think of at that moment was, Denise, be real with yourself. Be honest with your words. And I didn't have any other sarcastic, profound thing to say besides, you hurt my feelings. And it sounds so elementary, so adolescent to just say it so simply. But in that moment of me saying, you hurt my feelings, Terrence immediately went into action. Like, just so simple words. And it ended up in probably like a almost 45-minute prayer and worship session. And it just to calm our spirits. He grabbed the oil. He started praying over me. He oiled me down. I grabbed the oil. I started praying over him. And then, after that, we just sat down and we talked about it. And, that's why I said prayer, God, just staying committed is really, really important when it comes to communication, because, he said this too. I can't leave this part out. He said to me that day, I will no longer allow the devil to confuse our language. And I fell out. I was like, okay, God take me now. This is the second service. I'm going, I'm done. Because that was just like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
wow. All of those arguments, all of those misunderstandings came down to me just simply saying, what you're doing right now is hurting me. And him saying, no longer going to allow the devil to continue to confuse our language.
Yeah. It's the simple things, you know, and sometimes we make it so deep and then we get confused and the fussing comes and then it gets heated. Do you think of, yeah, because I remember that last time we did X, Y, and Z, you know, and then it just all comes out. I
Yes.
love this. This is so good. The part of being real with yourself and being honest, because we're sugar coated. We'll try not to say because are we going to hurt their feelings? Are they going to understand us? Are they still going to love us? Are they still going to be here? All the thoughts that can go through your head. But when you just say what it is, here are my feelings, and then you get that response, I will no longer allow the devil to confuse. Yeah, that was the second service. Did you take our offering, sis?
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Because
stuff
you gotta
like
be
that.
serious.
We took our marital offerings later on.
Like
I ain't
stuff
mad at
like
you.
right, stuff like that, Jen, it really takes time because honestly, like, you know, I believe in my heart, you know, God really placed me with Denise for the specific reason. Like, we're talking two people from North Philly, so you know, Denise is Denise, and listen, I love my wife, but you get on her wrong side, it's a problem. You know, and then I have my little, you know, want to beat on my chest gorilla moment. So, you know, being married to a strong woman, like humbled me. Like, oh, okay, like, you know, you have your person, like, humble yourself. You know, you don't have to beat on your chest. You don't have to be so prideful. You don't have to be so macho. Like, so it's definitely a learning experience for sure. It takes time, dedication, and just willingness.
And a lot of laughs.
And
Gotta
yeah,
laugh at
gotta
yourself.
laugh too. Gotta laugh. Gotta laugh. That's one of the most beautiful things that I do love and adore. That me and Denise can have a good old laugh, a good time, just me and her at the most simplest things, and just laugh the wee hours in the morning. And then we at work the next day, like, babe, we was cracking up last night. Well, it's like stuff like that. That warms my heart. The fact that I have that person. I'm a naturally silly person, anywho. So the fact that I have, you know, another natural silly person that's my wife, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But time and growth, time and growth.
I love this. So many times you hear of marriage and sometimes you hear the downside, but there's some upsides to it. You know, even though there's some parts where it's like, oh, that iron sharpen iron and I ain't like it today, it still
Right.
makes it better. Like when you were saying she challenges you and you challenge him, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Of that
Right.
part of going through that process and finding out it's still dope though. This was still a good decision. I don't regret it. I'm gonna put the work in to make
Right.
sure it keeps going and flourishing as it should.
Hmm. And like you said, Jen, it's just putting the work in, and you know, time. Listen, there are some dark times. Like, you know, we have a lot of, you know, but and because I don't ever want to, you know, to come across like, oh, we're just this peachy and cream marriage, and oh, we've just been walking through petals of gold. Like, no, we've had some dark times, you know, and I thoroughly believe that it's nothing but God that still has us sitting next to each other. You know, we have really been at it, you know, to where as though like I thought marriage was like going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, almost like, you know, I'll share a testimony like where papers were filed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, hey, I thought this might be it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still,
But
you know,
God.
papers were filed, but nothing was processed. See,
Yeah.
I just preached the word just now. I just preached a little word.
You
Papers
did.
was
You
filed,
did.
but nothing was
Come
processed.
on.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and that's why I love this lady, honestly. I tell her every day, like, I love the life in you. It's like think about my love for Denise, honestly, gets me emotional. So that's why I try not to do it so much. Because I don't want nobody to think I'm crying for the camera. Like, oh no, this is genuinely how I feel when
Yeah.
I see my
Yeah.
wife. Like, we've had dark times, you know, but the fact remains is that the love is still there.
Yeah.
And I feel like the love is not going anywhere. And I feel like as long as we keep our communication, and sometimes us as human, us
Mm-hmm.
fleshly, sometimes we make mistakes. We're human
Yeah.
beings,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I've learned in this marriage to take a lot of accountability.
Mm.
You know, hey babe, And then I've even learned how my words can be a problem.
Ah.
So, taking the time to think before I talk slow,
Mm-hmm.
and, also talk with the spirit of, hey, I apologize, and just try to get a sense of understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, um, being married to somebody you love definitely will motivate you and push you to be a better man. If you want to be, that's first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost. You got to want to be, and it's good to want to do that for that person. And I've even learned. I think God, Denise teaches me a lot of things. Like, don't just do it for me, do it for you.
Yeah.
Because God forbid we can divorce today or tomorrow. I still want you to be a better person, with or
Yeah.
without me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I learned that, not just for her, but more importantly for me, I want to be a better individual all the way
Mm-hmm.
around the board. More
Yeah.
so, I want to be a better individual to anchor this marriage, to
Mm-hmm.
support and protect this marriage.
Yeah. I like this. You talked about the humbleness, right? And that causes for you to be vulnerable, to be open to share, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like how blended fab came along of when two people come together, those thoughts, those beliefs, those attitudes are different a little bit. And I have to now get in sync, find a sync so that we could get along and be on the same page. Because if I'm like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it, I'll do spaghetti, right? You got to just put the sauce on top of the noodles. And somebody else saying, no, you got to mix it up together.
And that was one of our twists, because I'm from North. I'm putting my spaghetti mixed in. And they saw us. I'm like, okay, we getting bougie here now, where we come from, but that's stuff like that, and we can even have laughing jokes all that. A whole
Yeah.
debate. I had to put this on Facebook. Now, wait a minute. Now, how do we eat spaghetti? Now, what's going on here?
And it's funny because when you heat it up the next day, it's all mixed up. And when you eat it, it's all mixed up. But hey,
You
whatever,
know what I'm
potato,
saying?
potato. But it's those things that causes
Presentation.
us to get frustrated. And if
Right.
we're not careful, we could get caught up. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, are we eating? We still
Right.
eat, right? So keeping the main thing, and that's when the small stuff. Acknowledging the small stuff, because that small stuff could become big, but really when you get to that space of being humble, the thing is that it peels back with that onion
Right.
of like, oh, I'm exposed now. And then we
Mm-hmm.
get fearful because like, how much can I tell? How much can I share? Are they going to receive it well? So then it's like this battle of like, I want to be vulnerable, but I don't want to be vulnerable. I want to tell you, but I don't want to tell you, because are you still going to love me? Because it's that fear too sometimes. Are you still going to love me if you really see all the flaws that I have?
Right.
Right.
That for me was really hard to deal with because I'm such a closed book at times. I would rather write, journal, write a poem. Like I would rather express all of my emotions on the pages. So that was something that I did throughout my childhood. I always had a notebook. Look, got one now for what? I don't know. Just I always have a notebook with me. Or I'm on my phone jotting out notes, thoughts, or whatever. So like I had mentioned earlier, it's for me to be able to vocalize to him just a simple what you said hurt my feelings. That was my mental because it was a vulnerable moment for me. Um, and and it's it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy when you come from a strong background. I come from, my mom did not, and I always explain this to Terrence. My mom didn't teach me how to be a wife. She told me how to be a good mother and how to be a good woman, but she didn't teach me the softness that's needed for a wife. So when you have that mindset of I have to do, I have to go, it's hard sometimes to incorporate another person and also understand how all those eyes that you're saying is landing on the other person when it's not really just you. Um, so yeah, like being vulnerable was like it was super hard. And it was it was just so challenging to get over. I'm trying to put it all into words of how challenging it really was for me because vocalizing my feelings was just not up for debate.
Mm-hmm.
This is my second marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I was married to my children's father for a very long time, and just having the trauma of being in a relationship where you are not comfortable for so long with vocalizing your feelings that you it kind of does make you a drone. It kind of does make you shut down and, block people out. But I learned in this new season and this new marriage that if I have all these walls up, how can he get in? How is he going to learn me? How is he going to learn my love language? How is he going to get to know me? So coming into this, I promised my personal counselor that I had prior to us getting married that I was going to do things completely different, the complete opposite of what I did in the past. And that included me opening up my mouth and being able to effectively vocalize my feelings, and just be open and vulnerable and just let God handle it. If I pray for this man and I pray to be able to pour out to somebody and have that that strong man that really has my back, I have to allow him to do that. I can't always jump in front of him, even if, and try to take control. Even if he came into the position not fully knowing himself how to do it, I still have to allow him the opportunity to do it, mistakes and all. And trust that knowing, not if, but that God ordained this marriage, that God is going to see us through with being able to reconcile or fix any issues or differences that we may have. It's really just faith. It's faith. So for me, it was hard, but once I got over that, and once I seen how God can move, it's like, oh, I'm in. We can do this. There was another time where, we were going through something with my biological son. And, I was so tired and I couldn't get my spirit right. And Terrence looked over at me and he said to me, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." Like, I had taken a bath. I had tried to pray. I had nothing left in me because how in depth the situation was. And I just looked over at him and I was like, I need prayer. I need prayer. Same thing. He got up and he grabbed the oil and he just started praying. And I just remember the feeling of, it's like that scream that you're holding in so long and so hard. And I explained it to him like week after week after week. I could not get it out. Every Sunday I'm at church and I'm just like, God, please can I get the release? God, please can I get the release? But I feel this stronghold on me that's reminding me, you don't like people looking at you. What if you fall out? What if, like, my mind is constantly overthinking. So I'm going to church and I'm feeling the Holy Spirit and I'm feeling all of these things, but my flesh just would not let it go. And in that moment when I said to my husband, I need prayer, and he started to pray for me, that thing came up, started from the bottom of my belly, and that thing came up and in my chest, and the cry that I cried, and just having him hold me in that moment.
Yeah.
And, in marriage, you can have all of these fears of, oh, he did this wrong on this day, so I know he's not going to be able to handle my emotions, or he did this wrong on that day, or he has this, that. You can bombard your own mind with all of these things that hasn't even happened yet, or not even a factor, or can stop anything that God has planned.
Mm-hmm.
When God ordains, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to go the way he says it's going to go.
Yeah.
And, for every moment that we had bad times, that one moment of him just covering me, like a husband, like the head of the household, it was just, I felt safe. I felt so safe. And you just have to allow God to create those safe moments for you and not try to create them yourself.
That's good. That's good. And then the piece of not learning how to be a wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't see the examples like we see on television, like the Cosby's, Family Matters, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, come to mind. And we're like, that was great, but the process to get there, because when we saw them, their kids were practically grown. So
Right.
we didn't always see like all the struggles of them getting there. It seemed like everything was rosy and daisies. But to really like see the back end work, like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like the Huxtables. We
Right.
have
No,
moments of the Huxtables,
seriously. Right.
but this show can get on my nerves. But I like that of getting to that place of one, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to speak up, um, because like as a baby, we don't know what's going on with the baby. That's the only person that gets away with kind of like doing their cry, doing those things. Either they want to be fed, held, need a diaper change, or just got to get it out, right? But as we get older, we have to be able to vocalize that because they can't help us. And the benefit is that as you did open up, you get the shine of, oh, he really got my back. And it's like another staple to let me know this was a good decision. Like you said, another day might have been different because he could have been going through some things, but today is a better day. He got my back. And even in that time of him going through, he still had your back, just in a different way, until we speak up to say what it is that we need, right?
Right.
Because it could be, I do want to hear from you. It could be, I just want you to listen. It could be, I'm just talking, but I'm not really talking to you. But you hear me, but I'm not really talking to you.
Right.
But you know what I'm going on through.
Right.
But I'm letting you know, but don't say nothing. I'm just talking,
Right.
all that goes on with it all. That's good.
Seriously, and that's something that I learned from Terrence. I actually learned that from Terrence because he would ask the question like, okay, so do you want me to respond or do you want me to just listen?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that because again, like I said, I wasn't taught certain things. So I know, like my mama told me, it's a problem. You jump in, you fix it, you solve it, da da da.
Yes.
So to have someone really ask me like, oh, you really do care. You want to know, do I just want to go off on a tangent or do I really want you to jump in and help me? So that was really effective in our communication.
It really helps. I heard somebody put it the other day. Do you want sympathy or do you want support? I said,
Yes.
that's good, because you want to know. Because sometimes you'll be given sympathy. It was like, I just want support. And then
Right.
I just want sympathy. We having a pity party today. I mean, that's what it is. And again, knowing what it is, so you know what your job is.
Right.
Are we ready to fight? Because you're ready, or are we just chilling?
Are we
We
chilling?
gotta know.
Let me know. And again, Jen, like with me, this is my first marriage, so I didn't grow up in a sturdy household where my mom was married to my dad, or I didn't grow up in a household where there was a married couple living there. So, I grew up, I don't want to say typical, but typical, North Philly style household, and, you know, um, I always said to myself that once I get married, like I want to change who I am. I really want to live up to the expectations of a husband. And, you know, um, coming from where I came from, of just being wild now to being stable. I would take being stable over being wild any day of the week. Any day of the week. Stability over just foolishness. Nah, I take stability. I'll take stability, and um, it's a learning process. It's a learning process. Denise was speaking of moments where I jumped up and prayed. I didn't do that all the time. That took time and that took spiritual growth and that took fleshly growth. you know um and I've learned to just like listen more, like through reading different things and listening to different videos on on different websites and stuff like that, and it give you ideas and give you things to do. And one thing I am learning to listen to my wife, because sometimes I felt that Denise could be telling me what's very much wrong with her without her telling me what's very much wrong with her. And if I just take the time to listen and listen with an open ear, I'm getting all my answers right then and there. So I've learned to be
I'm sorry, can we pause it for a second so we can check on
more
our animals?
controlling, yeah.
Because
So
they are getting loud.
crazy.
There we go.
All right. Yeah. So with me not seeing that husband figure, seeing what a husband is supposed to be, seeing what a husband is supposed to do, and having to learn these things, at my present age now, it's good. It's good. Sometimes it it gets bad, but it's good. I say it gets bad because it's like, darn, bro, like sometimes your mental can play with you, or you should have been knew this stuff, and da da da. Like, but it's like you don't know because you've never been married, and with marriage comes compromising. It can't just be your way. And I'll give you an example. Let's just say we had a bill due. And me, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put something on it. Hold a couple of dollars for us. I'm gonna put something on it. The niece is like, baby, pay the bill.
Yeah.
So it's like compromise. Like, okay, no, you can't just do things your way. You can't put something on it and say, yeah, babe, I paid the bill. No, you ain't paid. You just put something on it. She's like, pay the bill. We're gonna have to pay it anyway. So when you want to grow and when you want to learn and do different things, you want to compromise. You want to compromise. I never was a fan of therapy because, again, being prideful, coming from North Philly, like I'm not doing no therapy. I don't need no therapist. I'm not crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Going to therapy doesn't definitely necessarily mean that you're crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that professional person to talk to. So, me meeting Denise, and this is the only female that I've ever dealt with in my life that ever mentioned therapy or even wanted to even be in therapy with me. I thought that was amazing, and that just gave me a different, like, okay, like, cool. You can go to therapy. Therapy is good, and compromise. Okay, if this is what she want, cool. Allow this to be something that you want, because guess what? It's going to help you. It's going to help her, and it's going to help y'all together. So yeah, compromising and just learning and having the spirit to want to learn is important.
I just want to say too, like when you mentioned the Huxtables and growing up, I grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents are still married to this day. It will be 48 years this year.
Yes.
So it's kind of ironic that I'm like, okay, my mom didn't teach me how to be a wife, which is
Yeah.
wild. And
Yeah.
I'm talking with my sister and she's saying the same thing. Like we really had to learn and we really struggled with being soft as a wife and learning how to support our husbands. And I took it a step further and actually read The Power of a Praying Wife.
Okay.
Which was recommended to me by my personal therapist. And she told me to prepare myself after my divorce. She said, prepare yourself for the man that God is going to send to you. And you're going to start doing that by reading this book. And it really just goes into how much a man really struggles with day to day that we don't take into consideration at all. Just hearing how stressful it can be or reading how stressful it can be for a man to have the task of managing the household, being the head of the household. I'm falling out because I got to be the support, but imagine how he feels. These all these people under him that he has to control and monitor and manage and so on and so forth. So who wants excuse my expression, but a strong back wife coming in like, oh no, do it this way and do it my way and this, that, and the third. And that's what I learned growing up. And looking at my parents' relationship now, my mom still has, a little bit of that, but she's actually learning through time and also through her daughters, like what it looks like to be a soft wife. So it's crazy how things can work out generationally when you put God first and you have the opportunity to break those curses that were placed upon you just by being born. Because Terrence came in like, oh, what are you complaining about? You have both your parents, and I'm like, baby. That's not always, the cream of the crop. That ain't always what you think it is, because it's generations of women having to always have that strong persona and that S on their chest that they don't know how to be a wife. They don't know how to be that good thing. They don't know how to be that supporting actress. They want to be in the lead. So I really had to break it down to him, like, I really don't know. I'm really learning. And I cannot say in all those years that I was married the first time that I knew. I didn't. I went with what I was taught.
Yeah.
And I could, like I said, earlier, you got to realize sometimes when you the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the problem. I was part of the problem. Like,
Listen, I was the problem
yeah,
too
I wasn't the
sometimes.
whole problem.
See,
I'm not about to take
I was
all
the
that
problem
now.
at times too.
But I was the problem. Never back down, never be quiet. Always have to have the last word, like, because I had those skills that say pay the whole bill, or, organize this and organize that. I had to realize that my mom was not doing that because it was just so grand to do, or she just
Yeah.
woke up like, I want to manage this house by myself. No, she didn't have a choice. But if God is giving me a choice, I'm gonna choose the soft girl era every single time because it
Yes.
feels amazing.
Yes.
It feels
This is
amazing.
this is good. Now the whole bill. I thought I was paying bills wrong because I paid the whole bill. And somebody was like, "Oh, just put some money." I'm like, "But then I'm gonna have to still pay." Like I think I
Listen,
got money. I still
Right.
got that. And I was like, "I'll just, as long as everything is on, that's a
I'm gonna
win."
put something on
Right.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna put something on it. They ain't calling me for nothing. I gave
I don't
y'all a
want
little
nobody calling me
something.
for nothing, right?
Leave me be. Leave me be.
I don't have no problem. But that part
Yeah.
too, like learning to be a wife, the other part is that when you meet somebody, you have to learn what it's like to be a wife to that person. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if she could have taught you some things, it might not have been applicable for your relationship with Terrence, right? So you had to
Right.
find out, oh, you don't like me doing this? Okay, I won't do that. You find out what works for your relationship.
Yeah.
And though it would have been cool to get some pointers and things, because I mean, we need pointers at a lot of things that we didn't even learn in elementary school, right? But as we do read the books, as we do the research, as we do connect with others, and we can learn, that helps us to do a lot better of finding out what works for your
Mhm.
household. Because too, some
Right.
people be like, "Oh no, because we do X, Y, and Z." It was like, "Am I doing it
Right.
wrong?" Like the bill thing, right? Am I doing it wrong? No, you're doing it right. You have to do what works for your house, where you have that peace, where you have that sanity of like, we got this.
Right. And the
Exactly.
compromises, I've learned to put something on it sometimes. Like, you work so hard. Listen, this economy is crazy, baby. We got to put something on it so we can
Yeah.
go out for date night, or we can,
Yep.
have a little one-on-one time and do certain things together. We're going to
Mhm.
put something on it.
Put
And I
something
had
on
to
it.
be, okay, we're going to put something on it, baby. Okay, you
So
got it.
so Jim,
And then it balances out. It makes sense.
Right.
so Jim, real quick, I'll share this little funny joke with you. We had this little funny thing going on where Denise sometimes can be a tad bit boozy. So she would like to go to, like, let's just say like Fresh Grocer or Acme or something like that to go shopping. And I'm like, baby, this was Save a Lot was popping. I said, baby, you better go to Save a Lot. You go to Save a Lot to save a lot. What are you talking about? Listen, you keep wanting
Yeah.
to shop at Walmart buying groceries. No, Save a Lot is where to save a lot.
Absolutely. I love it. You got how it works.
That's it.
Oh, I got a couple more things that I want to hit because y'all said a lot. I just want to hit them before we go.
Okay.
I like the part of which one should I go to first? That you said that you're her husband, not her father, right? And sometimes we could get lost in that. What has been helpful in you staying in the role of husband and not trying to transition to father, and you being that wife and not trying to transition to a mother?
Mm. I'll make mine real short. Mm. Just wanting to be her husband.
Mhm.
Um, I don't believe in that. Wife got to be over the stove, or you could do as I say, and and not as I do. I don't believe in that. Like, I believe in Denise as a grown, absolute grown woman, a mother, child, but she's grown.
Mhm.
And I just the thought of me, like, I don't know, I can't say too much. God, Jesus, help my mind. Oh Lord, Jesus, I want to stay on track. I want to stay as her husband
Yes.
and not as her father. Now, I like when she called me daddy, but I would like
I
to
knew it was
stay.
coming.
I
I
was
knew
trying to
it.
find a way to say it clean. I will always want to remain as her husband.
Yes.
as the good book say, as the
Yeah.
Bible leads me to be. Honestly,
Yeah.
I want to be her husband. I want her to trust and believe that I'm her husband, so that way I can lead and guide my family and the right path that God has ordained for me to lead and guide my family.
Yes, I like it.
And I like what you call me dad.
I knew it was something. I knew it was a catch. I'm like,
I
what
know
he
it
about
was
to
coming
say?
too. I ain't gonna
I
hold
was trying
you.
to hold back. I'm like, I don't want to mess up.
What is he about to say? But for me, would maybe stay in the role of wife is because, like you said, I wanted to be a wife.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have the experience of just solely being a wife, that soft girl era where you just be a wife. I do not want to control you. I don't want you to feel like you're controlled. I don't want you to be in that parental mindset when it comes to me.
Yeah.
Because now, when I'm expressing how I feel, now you feel like I'm nagging. Now
Yeah.
you feel like I'm bothering you too much, or
Mhm.
now I sound like your mom. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
make you feel like an adolescent. How can I
Yeah.
expect to have a grown man, but I'm making him feel like a child? You're
Yeah.
not a child. I don't want to speak to you like my child. I don't want to treat you like my child. I don't want that type of relationship with you. I want you to have the confidence to stand up and be a man and feel comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
that role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to um demasculate you to that childlike mind, because then he's not reaching his potential.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be completely honest. Soft girl era, I want all the benefits, guy. I want it all.
Yeah.
I want every single benefit that's going to come from him being a man and walking in his masculinity where
Yeah.
the way that God wants him to. And he
Yeah.
can't do that if I'm trying to mom him.
You're right.
And no, I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to tell you what to do. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that any woman can honestly say that it feels good to mother their husband.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Um, Being in that situation prior, it's stressful. It's draining.
Mm-hmm.
It lowers your own confidence as a woman, because you think that now you may not deserve certain things because
Yeah.
you're not allowing him to be a man and realize that you deserve those things. He respects me to not want to be my dad because
Mm-hmm.
he realizes I have a dad. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need him to be my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to respect me as his wife.
Yeah.
When we get into I think it's almost demeaning
Mm.
to the other individual to be their mother or be their father or act in that role towards them. Because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm telling you that you are an inadequate adult where I can speak to you respectfully as
Mm-hmm.
my mate.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want those feelings, because now we're closing up our feelings
I like
after
it.
that. Because if he feels like he's inadequate as a man, he's going to shut down on me. If
Mm-hmm.
I feel inadequate as a woman, I'm going to shut down on him.
Yeah.
So we don't want control over each other.
Yeah.
We want control over our marriage. We want control over our emotions and our
Mm-hmm.
finances and
Come on.
our spirituality and all those things that can build a better individual and couple and union. But I don't want to control him. I don't. I feel like that's so corny.
It's creepy.
It's
It's
creepy.
creepy.
Again, generationally,
Mm-hmm.
coming from strong women, I've seen what that looks like. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the arguments and the fights that can come from a
Yeah.
man trying to be controlled or a woman trying to be controlled. And I believe that it drives you further away from each other more than anything, because he's gonna go try to find his peace somewhere else, or she might go try to find her peace somewhere else. And again, these are all experiences of life experiences
Yeah.
that I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
over these years. That's basically what happens. It
Right.
drives the other person away, and that just creates way too many. It's too much. It creates too much opportunity for more problems that don't really need to surface.
Unnecessary.
I
Yeah.
like. I saw something today. It was talking about how a man sees love as respect, and they
Mm-hmm.
want to be respected in the home. To be
Mm-hmm.
out in public, and be respected, but to be disrespected in a home, that can cause some conflict. And if you're feeling disrespected in a home, when you get out in public with the home, it could come out, people could see it too. So finding out what it means, what love looks like. We talk about the love languages, and yes, that's great as a starting point, but it's so much more beyond those 5 of finding out what it means to really show me that you love me, what it means to show me that you care, and how do I show gratitude for that love. Do I just say, oh, you're supposed to do that? Or am I, oh, let me also do something for you. How can I help you? I can pick up my shoes, take them upstairs. Let me get them out the living room area, right? The team piece comes in of us working together and not against each other.
Right. And in this marriage, some people, I've heard the saying say, or I heard somebody say, happy wife, happy life. Now I believe happy spouse, happy house. And that's with the both of us. Because I believe in doing things to make her happy, because of course making her happy makes me happy. And it's more so the spirit of, again, not so much of doing things for Denise to make her happy. It's doing things because this is naturally what I want to do. I'm not doing it because I know this is what she wants.
Right.
I'm not bringing you flowers because I know you want flowers, or because it's the thing to do. I actually love bringing you flowers, so I'm going to bring you flowers every chance I get, because I love to do it. And on top of that, I know you like it. I know there's something you love.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to cleaning, I'm going to clean not just because I like it, because I know you like it. So it's, when my mindset when it comes to Denise, when it comes to my queen, is to, again, just have that listening ear and make sure that I'm putting myself in a position too, because I cannot expect for her to do all these things and I'm not giving anything in reciprocation. I can't ask for respect, but I'm not giving respect. I can't ask for peace and I'm not giving peace. So I'm learning to make sure I conduct and watch my behavior and my words, because I definitely want to get what I want to receive, what I want to get. I want to. If I said
you want the benefits.
Yeah, I want the benefits. So and it comes with time. Too,
yes.
I mean, I don't hate to keep using these words, but that is really my testimony in my marriage. And I still believe that there are some obstacles we're going to have to hurdle together, but I got her hand and we run it at the same speed, and 1, 2, 3, baby, jump, and we're going to jump, we're going to clear this hurdle together.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
And that's my drive. Yes, things are going to get rough. This is life. Life is life, and people are living. So as long as I know I got I don't want to say my partner in crime, but I got my person with me, I'm cool. Because guess what? Now I don't got to fight this battle by myself. God gave me my designated fighting partner. We're going to fight this joint together. We always ready to square with the devil. We're going to roll on the devil anytime, any place.
Yes.
So that's my spill of it.
I love it. It reminds me of like how the Bible says God loves a cheerful giver, right? Because if I'm doing it cheerfully, it's great. But if I'm doing it begrudgingly, like I really don't want to do it, then I'm getting some resentment. And then I'm like, are they only doing it because I gave them? And all the different thoughts that come in your mind. So when you do something because you actually enjoy doing it, the other person can tell that you enjoy doing it. You feel good because you enjoy doing it. And then it just makes that happy spouse, happy house. Yes. What's something that you want people to walk away with? Some words of wisdom.
Carry us out, baby. Carry us out.
I got you. I want people to just know that with God, all things are possible. First and foremost, before you get into a relationship, make sure that you get as much healing for yourself as you can get. God will connect you with a person that will carry you through with more healing. And things, although they may get rough at times, just know that after that storm, God has something super amazing that will absolutely blow your mind, if you just stay the course. Get to know the person that you're with. Get an understanding of what real love really means, what it looks like, what it feels like, because real love in the eyes of God is not, it's not pretty. It's not sunshine, it's not rainbows. It's trials, it's tribulations, it's testimony, but there's also grace, there's mercy, there's understanding, there's kindness, there's love, there's growth.
Yeah.
There's so many more benefits to actually understanding what love is, and not just focusing on the ugly side of it, or the selfish side of it. Understanding that love is selfless.
Mm.
And when you love someone, there's nothing that you would do to them that you wouldn't like done to you, basically. So if I love him, I wouldn't pinch him or punch him, because I don't want to be pinched and punched.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much how we have to learn to love our mates. Love them when we don't like them, because you're not always going to like them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to like, that they don't pick up their clothes. You may not like the way their feet smell. You may not like the way their hair looks. And all the little things that, may have brought you together in that honeymoon phase. When you move past that, get to the love, get to the nitty-gritty of, you know, being that person, that backbone when your other half is down.
Yeah.
That's really, really important. Both of you guys cannot be down at the same time.
Mm.
Somebody has to be the stronger
Yeah.
person or vessel at that moment. And in order to do that, you have to love your person beyond what you ever believe love is,
Yeah.
and be willing to stick it through, because there really is that rainbow on the other side, and it really does get greater later, but you have to be willing to go through learning each other, and learning each other's upbringings, and different things that may not always connect, but trust God, and always keep that mustard seed of faith in your back pocket, because you're gonna need it, but he gonna make it worth it. God is definitely gonna make it worth it. And that don't one thing I want to debunk, that whole don't go to bed um
Man.
mad at your partner. Sometimes you have to go to bed mad. Sometimes you have to go to bed sad, hurt, upset, because you have to learn that there's a proper time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you speak on emotions and feelings which change,
Mm-hmm.
you can very quickly and easily speak incorrectly and create more damage than you ever meant to. So if you need to go to sleep and pray on it and let God take the lead, do that, because it's far better to do that than to feel like you have to force a conversation where one or the other isn't ready to, or in that mindset, like Terrence said earlier, to receive it in the spirit that is being given. And your spirit really may not be right the way you're giving it anyway. So take a nap, honey. Take and revisit it the next day.
It's 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna go to bed mad. We're gonna wake up glad. We're going to bed.
Right, and try again the next day. So just keep pushing and keep loving on each other, and understand that what works for you in your marriage and your relationship just may not work for everybody else. So be authentic to your own personal love.
And keep your business to yourself.
Yes.
Keep your marriage business between you and your spouse and God and whatever professional therapist you're dealing with. Keep your family and friends should not be involved in, especially a new marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And if whether that family and friend means good or not, still keep them out. And that's something I had to learn in in the beginning of my marriage. Hey family, I love y'all, but I love y'all over there, because guess what? The Bible tells us when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another scripture always says when you find your wife, a man cleaves, he leaves his mother. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't want to say wrong, but I have a wife, so I don't have to be under my family. I have my family, so keep God first, family second. Keep God first, your wife second, family third.
Thank you for listening to the Blending Fab podcast. This podcast has been brought to you by our sponsor, Chosen Counselors. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Check out this snippet from our next episode.
Or whatever. And I think as some people catch it when they're young, they catch the rhythm and stride of like finding quality when they're young, and that's amazing and that's beautiful, and I support that 100%. But not all of us do it. You know what I mean? Some of us are a little bit more stubborn and hard-headed going through it. Whereas now, where you're approaching your 30s, approaching your 40s, like you want to settle down. You want those family values acted on. You want to be able to come home to the same person. You're tired of doing the dating game. Why a lot of people say like, online dating is basically dead. And it's like, it's challenging because you're like, everybody's the same when it's not everybody. Some people just like to meet in person. You know what I mean? Those of us who do click online, that's a beautiful thing, because I know plenty of people who have met online and honestly been married within 6 months. Blew my mind. And they're still married today and they're 15 years long,
Wow.
Like, but just like you said, like, to each their own as far as like how that goes. But I definitely would want to, piggyback what you were saying on encouraging the viewer to do what works best for them, for sure. Because what's best for you or myself, Jen, is not going to be best for everybody. But I think ultimately seeking happiness finding happiness within yourself will definitely attract what you are really looking for genuinely.
Absolutely.